another idea from the Slonimer, also with respect to the holiday of Shavuot, and this has to do with the counting of the Bnei Yisrael. Inyan Minyan Bnei Yisrael, the counting of the Bnei Yisrael. So how does this relate to Shavuot? So the Slonimer writes that the passage of Bemidbar, the portion of Bemidbar, is entirely discussing the numbers of the children of Israel, meaning to say how many are counted in every tribe and how many are part of the entire Jewish people. And so the Slonimer asked the question, what relationship why do we care about the numbers of the children of Israel? Meaning to say that the Torah is eternal. The Torah is called the Torah's Chaim, and it's of eternal relevance. Why do we care how many people were actually in this tribe at that date? And if you say, oh, we need to care, nonsense, because I would argue back to you, you could all say the verse, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. If I say without looking, tell me how many people are in the tribe of Shimon, probably nobody on this call could answer. So what eternal message is contained within these numbers? And furthermore, we should understand, the Slonimer asks, why does the verse say, Se'u es rosh kol das b'nei Israel, lift up the heads of everyone from the congregation of Israel? Why doesn't it say Se'u es mispar kol das b'nei Israel? Why does it specifically say lift up the head and not the number? Or like if Se'u means count, it should say count the numbers. Don't say count the heads. And so therefore, the Slonimer says every time where it says the word to count the Bnei Israel, it uses the word Nisiat Rosh, lifting up of the head, or technically speaking, counting the head. It says Kisisa as Rosh Bnei Israel, when you count the heads. So why doesn't it say the more proper word would not be Kisisa, but Kitispor? And the third question that the Slonimer asks is why is the tribe of Levi not counted amongst the children of Israel? And so the tribe of Levi is specifically excluded. Rashi's answer as to why they're specifically excluded is because they were not going to be, anybody who was counted in this count was going to be left out of the ability to go into the land of Canaan. But let's see what the Slonimer's answer is. And he says, okay, the explanation of this is based upon the Midrash that there are 600,000 letters in the Torah. Now, I just want to note that that's not actually accurate if you count up all the letters. If you count up all the letters, you'll find 304,805 letters. And even a very good sofer, when he brings his work to the scribes to check and go through the computer, they can find as many as 100 something mistakes, because there's 304,000 letters. I want to just tell you, yesterday when I called up the people who are checking my last Torah by computer, and they were so excited that I only had 40 mistakes. They said, wow, you only had 40 mistakes in the last Torah, which was amazing. So I was very proud of that. But anyway, getting back to this point, that there were 600,000 letters in the Torah. That's what the Midrash says. And this corresponds to the 600,000 souls. So each letter of the Jewish people, because there were 603,000 people counted in this census. So therefore, every letter in the Torah corresponds to the soul of the Jew. And not only that, says the Slonimer, if you know that that the name of God has 4 letters. However, if you count up the number of possibilities that you can take the 4-letter name of God, there are many, many different possibilities. And the Ari HaKadosh says that if you count up the name of God and you're able to divide up the name many, many different ways, you have 600,000 possible ways to divide up the name of God. So therefore, this is what the Ariya. These are very, very deep ideas. You have to think about, what does it mean? It means that there's a name of God for every single Jew. Every single soul has a letter in the Torah, and there's a specific name of God for every single one of us. Each one of us has our own unique relationship with God. Nobody could ever tell you what your relationship with God has to be. Each one has our own relationship with God. But he goes on and says the 4-letter name of God corresponds to the four divisions. When the Jewish people camped, they were divided into 4 divisions. And the 12 possibilities, if you combine the letters of Hey and Vav and Yud and Hey, they correspond to the 12 tribes. And the 600,000 possible ways in which you could divide up the name of God, that corresponds to the souls, the 600,000 souls of the Jewish people. And what is this teaching us? That every soul of the Jew has a letter in the Torah. There's a letter in the Torah corresponding to every single Jew, and and every single Jew is connected to the name of God. And the Zohar writes also that in order for a person to be complete, what's the other concept here? There's another very, very powerful concept here. We said one of the concepts here, but there's another very, very powerful concept here. The other very powerful concept here, according to the Slonimer, is that each one of us has, a person has to include himself. The letter on its own is nothing. When does the letter achieve holiness? Only when that letter is part of a Torah scroll does that letter achieve the holiness. And that's the same thing for the Jewish people. Each of us as individuals, we've achieved nothing. But when we're part of the Jewish people as a whole, then we correspond to the 600,000, and then we have meaning. And so therefore, what we're saying here is our lives will only have meaning if we're attached to something greater than us. By attaching ourselves to something greater than us, then our lives will have meaning. And so we know that the number of 600,000, says the Slonimer, is indeed something that's eternal with respect to the service of Hashem. So that whenever it comes to the service of Hashem, a person has to include himself within the community of Israel. And so that's the basic idea, because if a person tries to serve God only as an individual, then he will not have completion. He won't reach his spiritual goal. Only the 600,000, that's where he's able to achieve this letter. And so the reason why the Torah writes the number of Jews is to show that our number will always be 600,000. To teach this fundamental idea that only by being part of the community will we be able to achieve our spiritual perfection. And that's why, coming back full circle, that's why it always uses this expression of Nesias Rosh, not just counting, but lifting up the heads, that the Jewish people are exalted, become to a higher spiritual level only on account of the fact that we're part of a larger group. But if we're just by ourselves, we're not going to achieve any of these letters. This is the Slonimer's message, and this is why Parshas Bemidbar is almost always read before Shavuot, is to teach us this idea that we have to, only by attaching ourselves to Torah and learning Torah as part of a larger community, are we able to achieve this spiritual goal of bringing meaning to our lives. So this is the message of the counting of the Bnei Yisrael, of showing that the 600,000 is an eternal number. It's to teach us the idea that we're joining a larger group, and to teach us this idea that we have meaning only in that context, and that's what lifts us up and makes us great. Okay, let me just pause for a moment and see if anybody has any questions about what we just said.